Oh, wow. So, The Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes opens to 44 million domestic, but I think the big news here is the second week drop for Marvels, which is currently the worst second week drop in MCU history. So, let's talk about this and how I feel this might actually be a good thing. And I'll explain that a little bit later. So, for Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, this is a prequel starring Rachel Zegler. It came in around $44 million domestic. Overseas, it had 54.5 million. So, for a global of 98.5, let's just say around $100 million. And even though this is the lowest in franchise history for the Hunger Games versus the previous movies, at least the current budget that we know of, this movie was made for around $100 million, and that's not including marketing and so forth. So maybe if you were to take in all of those things in account, and also the profit sharing that they're going to have to do with theaters around the world, my guess is it's probably going to have to make around a 250 to 300 million, probably to either break even or be profitable. And so in this case, not a great start for the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but at the same time, it's not a total disaster, which is, well, the opposite of what I could say for the Marvels, because the Marvels opened to the worst in MCU history last weekend. And I think everybody knew, especially those who don't follow the mainstream media, knew that this was going to tank at the beginning and it was going to tank on following weekends. But I don't think anybody expected to tank this much. And so for that very first weekend, I think it's $46 million. But on the second weekend, at least domestically, it earned about 10 million or less. So I think around the $10 million mark. So we're gonna have to go here. Let me see if I could get the total budget here. So number one, Hunger Games, and then number two, Trolls Band Together actually beat out the Marvels, and number three, Thanksgiving, a new horror movie by Eli Roth, tied with the Marvels. And let me see if it says it here. So $10.2 million. So that is a dramatic, disastrous drop of 77%. Some outlets have it as a 79% drop. So 10.2 million from 46.1 million domestically. And then internationally, it dropped about 67%, or they're saying, yeah, 67% overseas. So not great news at all. And right now, I think globally, it's in the 100 plus million range. So what is saying here, 110 million globally. Okay, so 161 million total so far. So 110 million opening weekend, 161 million so far. This is definitely nowhere near the 1.13 billion of the original Captain Marvel. And if you look at the top markets, China, 14.7 million. Normally, at least in the past for Marvels, they could always count on China for the MCU, but that's no longer the case. Other movies, number six for the holdovers. I don't know what happened to number four and five. Number seven is Next Go Wins. That's actually another movie by Taika Waititi, and it stars Michael Fassbender, who I really, really enjoyed in the recent movie The Killer. And then there was Journey to Bethlehem and other movies here. I do want to see Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. I love Nicolas Cage. And then there's Saltburn and stuff. So let's go back to this because at least for Hunger Games, maybe by the end of its theatrical run, it might get close to breaking even. And who knows, with the Thanksgiving holidays here in the United States, it might even garner a profit in the end. But I'm thinking this has a likelier chance of possibly breaking even at the least. But the Marvels, well, with this second week performance, I don't think there's any way it's gonna make its money back. Some people have estimated, especially the mainstream media, they're gonna estimate on the lower side how it costs around 200 million for production budget. But I think it's probably gonna be around a 300 million because they had reshoots as well, and that's once again not accounting for things like marketing, the profits that they're gonna have to share with theaters. And so some people estimate it might cost like maybe 600, 700 million to actually break even. I'm thinking, just being conservative, maybe it would need to make the 500 to 600 million to break even. But regardless of that, this is definitely a big disaster for the MCU. And I did talk about this on a previous video. I don't really blame the actors and actresses involved, and even most of the people involved in making this movie. It's really down to first Disney making these decisions, and then the people who actually control the MCU, whether it's Kevin Feige, the rest of the team, or so forth. They're the ones who actually laid these plans out. And the people acting in the movies, the directors, people who work in creating a movie, which there are a lot of people with a lot of talent and skills, I don't place the blame on them. And I really feel like this is going to lead to something that I think is a good thing. And let me explain what I mean by that. And so at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel about these movies or these companies, it's a business. And a business can't continually run when they're constantly in the negative and not making profit. It's not just your revenue. You actually may need to make profit for the long term. And for the long term, if they're not making profit, then movies similar to this, more than likely, historically, they're not going to make money again or make less money. And so this goes for practically any type of movie, especially big franchises. This is a really big thing because the money made from these franchises is not just from movies, it's from any other things related to these properties, whether it's books, toys, posters, clothes, merchandise. So many ways in which you can make money from these entertainment properties, especially ones that have been popular. And I use that term "have been popular" because, as with most things, it can't be popular forever. And so Hunger Games is one of those things where I think people just really forgot or don't really pay much attention to it. And when it comes to something like the Marvels, the whole MCU as a whole, I think primarily driven by Disney's decisions, has resulted in this, because all you have to do is look at previous movies recently, like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is so far the best performing MCU film here recently. And so those are my thoughts on this. Definitely not good news for either company, but I would say it's causing the most suffering for the Marvels. And hopefully, once again, this will lead to better entertainment in the future, where hopefully people enjoy what they're watching. The fans enjoy what they're watching. New people coming in will enjoy it. And then these businesses actually make money. So then they can produce more entertainment like this. So if you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave it in the comments there below. And I'll see you on another video. For serious YouTubers, check out TubeBuddy, the premier tool news at geekoutdoors.com. Get more done today by checking out the affiliate link in the description area below.